Hello.
Hi.
Is that countdown really loud? Maybe I need to
Uh,
adjust that. It was blasting my ears. I don't know.
I mean, I can hear it
Welcome.
fine.
What you
Hi,
could hear? Fine?
guys.
Okay. Whoops. Hang on. Let me. Hello. Welcome to Lawfully Chaotic, episode 22, where we're not going to talk about game systems tonight because Jason's he lost his voice and he has to play Saturday, so he can't be on the show. So he ruined everything. It's all his fault. Hope you're watching, Jason. No, he actually did lose his voice, and he's got some heavy games to run this weekend, so he needs to preserve what is left of his operatic pipes.
And his
So,
sanity.
and yeah, so we are going to table the game discussion. No pun intended. We're going to table that till next week because I want all of us to be in that discussion. And Sharon and I are just going to kind of freeform tonight and talk about like what got us, or how I should say, how we got into D&D. So next week we will be back with episode, we'll call it 22A. And we will, so that'll really fuck up the archives like
This
years
is the
down the
warm-up,
road.
the
Yeah.
pre-game 222.
Exactly. And then, when we're super popular, like 20 years from now, and then people
Wow.
like look back and, oh
It's
yeah,
gonna age like fine wine.
the trivia will be like, how many episodes were there? And then the people in the know, it's one more than actual because the numbering was fucked up. Anyway, gonna hold my breath for that day.
22A is the special edition episode.
Right? The lost episodes. Anyway, and then we're going to start a new little segment, some trivia questions. We're going to try to stump each other and any of you who are in the chat. And then we're going to do rollies tonight. Jason's going to miss rollies tonight for the first time.
Oh, that's right.
The rollies winner gets to close out the show. So anyway, Sharon, do you have anything, any announcements, anything you want to share before we jump in here?
Not really. Just tune in this Saturday for the Graying Lands at the D&D Club Twitch channel from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be playing in the campaign along with 4 other people. I think I know how to count. And it should be a really fun showdown. So actually, Jason will be helming the wheel for DM, so I am really expecting something good since he's not here.
Everybody roll initiative.
All right.
Tell him if his voice doesn't come back, all of his enemies cannot cast spells that have verbal
and we
components.
all roll with advantage because we can't hear him.
Right?
I'm sorry, what was that? Roll again?
Yeah, what? I didn't hear you. Didn't take that damage. Didn't happen.
Do you have anything coming up? Anything exciting?
So I am... I keep saying this, but I am getting really close. I am going to start a streamed game of a homebrew campaign that I have been writing and running. The running of which is actually informing the writing, so it's kind of cool because I'm kind of creating it. I have the overall plot, the overall storyline, but not the. I should say the overall storyline, but not the full plot. Or is it I have the plot but not the storyline? I don't know. I'm not a fucking writer, so which is why it's taking so long. But anyway, but it's kind of cool because I'm the two groups that I'm running through it are kind of informing how it progresses. So it's pretty cool.
Interesting.
So I'm going to do I am going to stream that. Have to decide if that is going to be on RPG&Co or over at the D&D Club. But putting out a call for players for that. I think you want to be one of those. Yes. Okay. You already have a seat. So if anybody else is interested in being on a streamed game, let me know.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Otherwise, I think that's all I got right now.
I'm curious. What is the overall tone that you have set for your game?
So I am using Forgotten Realms. I don't have the time to build a whole world. So I'm
Hmm.
building it on top of the Forgotten Realms world with a lot of homebrew built in and a lot of messing around with the pantheon and of gods and stuff like that. So it is kind of I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of a little bit like a mystery, I guess, like a thriller type thing,
Ooh.
kind of. So
I'm excited. That sounds
I
great.
yes, I like stories within stories within stories, so I
The
tend to
intrigue.
overcomplicate things. But it's cool. It's funny because I've mentioned this before. I don't know that you probably have not heard this, but in this, actually, in another campaign I'm running, I was running Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I always, as a DM, I always like to maintain continuity of the story. I really
Mm,
don't like it. Like if somebody doesn't show up, it's just like, oh, we just won't run their character, you know.
mhm.
Um, or if somebody wants to leave the campaign, some people just, oh, he just goes off into the sunset. I like to have a reason why, so that it means
A good
continuity. So
conclusion to their
exactly,
part of the
yeah,
story.
yeah. So anyway, during running that, I think there was one session or 2 weeks maybe in a row where a couple players couldn't make it. So I took the other three players and we did like this totally off the cuff side quest that turned into 4 sessions and was the most awesome fucking thing of the
That's
entire 2 years we've been
awesome.
playing. Yeah. So I took that and kind of slotted that into my homebrew because
Oh, that's
it totally
cool.
fit it was really awesome, and it was just magic the way it was completely unplanned, and because of the players' choices, it just became this totally awesome story arc.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and introduced a couple returning narrative player characters, which was very cool.
Woo.
So
That's awesome. I like
so
how
yeah.
like out of an unfortunate circumstance came out something even like far greater than what you anticipated. That's awesome.
Yeah, so much so that at one point, this same group, one of the guys was only he recently had a baby. Well, not recently. It was like he had a baby like a year ago. But
Mhm.
at the time, he's like, I can't do every week. I can do every other week. So we
Mhm.
took the odd week minus him, and that's when I started running these guys through the homebrew. They haven't gotten to where that previous story arc is yet, and I'm not sure.
Really?
And I'm not sure with them how I'm going to handle that because they've already been through it as a side quest in the Horde of the Dragon Queen
Oh
campaign.
man.
So I may have to adjust it for that, but it will be in the actual running of the
That's awesome.
yeah. So anyway, so we were gonna kind of just riff it tonight, and figured we would talk about how to learn the game. We've talked about a little bit how to find games, where can I play, stuff like that. But for people, excuse me, who are completely new to the game, having never played or have not played in like 30 years, and the rules are all different. So a lot of people say, I don't know how to play role-playing games. I
Mhm.
don't know what the rules are. How do you play a role-playing game? How do you win? Stuff like that. So there
You don't
seems to
win.
be, yeah, what's that?
I said you don't win
You don't,
D&D.
exactly, right. Yeah, I know. And I tell that to people and they're like, what's the point?
It's a
And
game that you don't win?
yeah,
What?
there's no point. That's the whole point. Um, but it seems that for some people, for a lot of people, it can be really daunting. One of the reasons they don't play is because they are intimidated by the game itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you hadn't played before, right?
No, not before Jason's campaign.
Okay.
I was just mostly just a big old fan of Critical Role and what is it? Drinks and Dragons, I think it was
I think
Drunks and
Drunks and
Dragons.
Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a big fan of both of those D&D shows. So like I had sort of an idea of how to play D&D, but I never actually got into it just because of how dense with information it was, and I felt
Hmm.
like it was like really overwhelming. And plus I didn't really know anybody who played D&D, so I was just like, I'll just watch or listen.
Okay.
It's fun.
But you had some insight because you watched Critical Role.
Yeah.
So you even had at least some insight into what goes on when you play a role-playing game. A lot of
Yeah.
people, they have no clue what goes on. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
so you all go into the basement and then you run around with swords and throw dice at people, and So, and the message that I give people is, it is not. First of all, there's no right and wrong in this game, and there really isn't. I mean, unless you're an asshole, but that goes with anything in life.
Yeah.
But I tell people there's no right or wrong, and you only need to know about 10% of the rules to be able to start playing. So don't worry about that. It's definitely a
Yeah.
game where you learn by doing. You
Mhm.
don't sit down and, other than character creation, you just learn.
100%.
You learn by doing. And actually, I use character creation not only to develop their characters, but also as they're doing it to teach the basics of the game that way.
Yeah.
So they know about classes and races and dice and hit points and skills and all that. And I've found that uh, that serves as a good enough base for people to be able to at least sit down and start playing, with some help.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Actually, I feel sort of bad because I have the player's handbook and I barely touch it. Sorry, guys. But I actually did learn a lot more about D&D through character creation and also just playing it, especially with like players that are like so sweet, like my peeps at the table. They were very nice and knowledgeable about the game, but yeah, there's even like some narrative guides that you can use for like your character stats too, which I thought was really interesting. I never really thought about that, but yeah, I think I think to like really hook people into D&D, I think it's more just like telling them about a story that you create.
Yeah,
I
I would
I think
agree.
that's really the hook. I don't think you should like tell people like, "Oh, well you have to use this amount of stats. This is the dice
Hmm.
that you use." I mean, although the dice are really pretty, guys, if you look. Um but
No,
yeah, oh,
I think that's a good point. Is I mean, I can remember so many stories as kids of us. I mean, every weekend at my buddy's house, when we were in high school, we would have a sleepover and play role playing games. And oh my God, I've got an unlimited number of stories of us, acting like idiots till 5 o'clock in the morning. Our parents thought we were ridiculous, but it's those stories like, that we still tell every once in a while. And
yeah.
I think that's a very good point. That's a really good way to kind of get people interested in the game. Is it's not about the rules. It's
Mhm.
about the stories that you develop and create.
Yeah, and like man, it's so cool when like you have like these really cool encounters or just really good role playing sessions and they're like highlight reels for your game for
Exactly.
D&D. So like, when you tell your friends like, "Oh, I fought this dragon and then like a boat came out of nowhere and then there was like fireballs everywhere." Like you get hooked into it
Yeah.
because you felt like you're a part of the story and you're like emulating that sort of effect to people. Um just like when people talk about Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, they talk about the action of like the highlights of what happened in those movies
Yep.
because it had such a big impact. And I think that's a good way to really convey D&D to other people because it's one thing to be like, oh, here's a book, here's some sheets, but it's another to be like, oh, well, let me tell you what happened in my campaign, or oh, here's a highlight clip from Critical Role. Like they do an amazing job of creating atmosphere in a scene. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like, I mean, it's basically, this is really cool, just give it a try. Stop,
Yeah.
stop, don't overthink it. And that's the exact conversation I had with my wife when I got her into it
Hmm.
in 2020 when we started doing D&D. Um because there was nothing else to do during COVID. But this
Oh.
is like so far out of her wheelhouse in every
Hmm.
way. But we got a bunch of us together, a bunch of other parents from my son's school, and we did Friday night games. And only one of them had ever played, and that was like 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so everybody was pretty new. And it was awesome. It was
That's so
really
cool.
awesome. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh,
So
and
did you find any specific, like, what did you find really difficult or challenging in terms of like the mechanics or rules or concepts of the game when you started,
it's
or did you
intimidating
at all?
in general. Like, even just for like building my character, I didn't know what the fuck to roll for stats. I was like, what am I doing with these numbers? What does that mean? Like, um,
Did Jason help you create this character, or were you just
no,
like, oh, so you were on your own?
yeah. Well, there was like
What
a
was the
little bit of
character you
guidance.
created?
Well, it's the lovely druid Mayra,
Okay,
in the Grainlands campaign. She's my
gotcha.
very
Okay, so that
first.
is the current one that you're playing.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's my very first player character, and I love her. And um, yeah, oh, the stats. I mean, I had so much fun creating like the backstory and her personality traits and people she knows and stuff like that because I love writing in general,
Yeah.
and also it kind of puts you in the mindset of like getting to know your character as opposed to creating your character, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Oh, it's
Total
so
sense.
fun.
I mean, when we were kids, there was backstory. Nobody needs backstory. It's like, what are my stats? How high can I roll? And if I roll shitty, I'm gonna go jump off a cliff with that character and then create another one. It was ridiculous. Now it's like, yeah, before the dice even come out, the backstory is already formulating. So that's really cool that was your intro into it, and how
Yeah,
you approached it.
yeah, and like the thing is with the stats, like the only way I was able to like understand it was online. Like I was like, okay, what do I do with druid stats? Or
Hmm.
you know, just kind of reading and researching about druids in general. I didn't know the spells.
Wow,
I
you
didn't.
really do dive in when you
Yes.
attack a topic. You really do dive into the research. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I take a deep dive. So like
See, this is why now you are in charge of coming up with show topics. And tonight's was a good one until Jason fucked things up.
I know. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Just kidding.
Great. Um, just kidding.
I hope he is watching this. Feel better, buddy. Have a some honey and tea or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, um,
So it's actually funny because Jason and I talked, and like I was telling him how I came up with my stats,
mhm.
and apparently, what is it? What's that phrase called?
cheat,
When
cheat until somebody finds out.
I mean, it's
What phrase in relation to what?
to character creating. What is min maxing?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a min maxer.
I uh.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I know, but there's like sort of like a negative connotation behind it, and like it's my first player character, guys. So
It's not.
I needed some guidance. Get it? So
I did get it. Wait, damn it. Where's my I gotta have some sound effects. I have a
so
stream deck that I have yet to actually use for streaming.
oh,
All I
that's
use the
awesome.
thing for is a shortcut for emojis.
Oh my gosh, you need to use it to its full potential.
I know.
Um, so yeah, it turns out I min maxed without even realizing it, but I was like
Okay.
trying to make sure that like I was able to understand and play my character properly, I guess.
Well,
I was hoping to.
that's not a bad way for a first time player, for a first character to do that,
Mhm.
because it teaches you the basics of character mechanics. You know,
Yeah.
when you screw around with something that is the opposite of min maxing,
Mhm.
you know, like a dwarf wizard, um, you kind of got to know what you're doing for it to
Yeah.
work. You know,
And the website that I use is called RPG Bot. It's very good at like helping you break down different classes, different races, like what are they good at, what are they bad at, and like it was perfect for me to understand how classes and character races work together. So it's so interesting. And so I made Mira that way with the stats, but storyboarding wise, that's all up here.
gotcha. I'm trying to
Um,
look up RPG Bot, but my internet is, or this website.
Here, let me see. I'm pretty sure it's called RPG
Oh
Bot.
no, it's not my internet. It's the website.
Hold
It's
on,
just
hold on.
uh, RPG Bot. Let me just do a search for it instead. Oh, it's .net. It's .net.
Yeah, but it is so detailed in all the different versions of D&D, all the different classes, even Pathfinder. Ah,
RPG Bot. Oh wow. Okay. How to play character. Oh, that's cool. There you
yeah,
go. How to play character optimization. Blah 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 blah. Awesome. So there's a good
yeah.
tool for people to use. I had not. I was not aware of this.
Yeah, so it tells you all the different classes, what do they do? Um they'll even have like a dissertation of like all the different races. Um yeah, it's
And how to
super
play.
helpful for like first time players. That's
Awesome.
why I that's why I thought like, "Oh, this is great. This is so helpful." I didn't know that I was kind of game breaking, but I don't think
Whoops,
I
for
don't know.
character crustacean, for character crustaceans. Um, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is something like that is a great tool for someone who has not played before. So,
Yeah.
um,
Because like the player manual can only work so much. I mean,
well, I mean, it does. It doesn't. It goes into mechanics, but
mm,
you're right. I mean, it to play a deeper character, you want to base it on a story rather than just a set of scores. You know,
yeah.
and I think that is where actually the bearded nerd and I, Brian Gomez and I, are working on some character prompts. Those will be up
Ooh.
soon. So it's a whole, it's like 4 pages of character prompts for character development that deal
Ooh.
specifically with just, you know, your story, your backstory, your training, you know, your motivations, all that
Mhm.
type of stuff,
Mhm.
just to kind of help you develop what you want to be, and then you can hit the books and roll it up that way. So
Interesting. So
yeah.
are there plot points for each character,
Uh,
for example? Like,
no, 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 no. It is totally agnostic. So it's more like, what was your childhood like? And then
mhm.
there's like 20, and you could use it as guidelines, or you
Mhm.
could randomize and actually roll if you really just wanted to leave it to fate. You know, like 20 um, descriptions underneath that.
Interesting.
What was your training like?
Mhm.
What was your early adventuring life like? What are your motivations? What stuff like that? You know, the player's handbook touches on that stuff, but this goes into a lot more detail, and I think it helps funnel
Yeah.
into, you know, um, and it's funny because I've never created a character like that completely random and seen
Yeah,
what I
that has to
got.
be interesting.
Yeah, now that I'm actually thinking about it, I might want to try that, and you know, end up with like a gnome barbarian slash
Interesting.
bard or something like that. Um,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah. Um, I don't, you
Yes.
know, it's been so long. When I started playing, we just taught ourselves because it was way the hell back. Actually, I think like most people, before the advent of the internet, it was like, what friends do I know that play, and they
Right.
teach me, so we kind of muddled through it together. My friends that I started playing with way back in early junior high had already been playing when I met them, so they taught me how to play.
So, was D&D back then more prevalent? Like a lot of people were playing it, or no?
No,
Really?
no, it was
Well,
less
I
so.
mean,
It was
was this during the Satanic Panic or
That was one of
after?
my trivia questions. Yes, it was basically. But I mean, most, like, my parents didn't care. None of our parents gave a shit about that. That was all.
Right.
That was all rhetoric. But it was not prevalent. It was very much a game for nerds, and it was like, well, what are we doing Saturday night? On a high school night, we're in our basements playing fucking D&D.
That's awesome.
So it was much more back in those days, like, oh, we have our group, and we don't really, we don't, people know we play, but we don't like advertise that we play, type of thing. There was a little bit of like shame to it, because it was,
Really?
well, I mean, for some people, because it was like, it was
Oh yeah.
nerdy,
Stigma, yeah.
But that's not to say that it was like that for everybody, but it was not as prevalent outside of those circles, I would say.
Interesting.
Like, I keep saying, with what's going on nowadays, where with Critical Role, and they had fucking billboards up on Sunset Boulevard, and celebrities coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, I used to play," and people who you would never think, like at a teachers, a parent association meeting, it's like, "Oh yeah, I've been thinking about playing D&D." It blows my mind, and especially the fact that people are getting paid to do this. I mean,
Yeah.
it truly is mind blowing, because none of this stuff we didn't imagine any of this stuff when we were playing it as kids. It was our thing, and it would always be our thing. And to think that it would be where it is now never even entered our minds.
Wow. It's night and day practically.
It is, yeah. And now it's like, now it's actually cool to play D&D. Now you're like, oh, what are you doing? I play D&D. And 9 times out of 10, that person, no matter who they are, it's like, oh, I've always wanted to play. They could be a computer programmer or a bartender or a pro football player, and they're, chances are they're going to be like, I've always wondered, I've wanted to play that. So it's crazy.
I wonder, is it because that it's more socially acceptable now that people want to play, or is it because of the positive effects that it has on people? Like,
I
for the
think
players?
both. I think
Yeah.
both. I think for people that are familiar with the game and have been playing, the positive effect is even stronger. And people that they know that may be dealing with issues where, this could be an outlet, kind of push that aspect of it. So I think that is definitely part of it, big part of it. I also do think that it's just become more mainstream.
Yeah.
So people now, and again, it goes back to people that have no clue about what a role-playing game is, let alone D&D. They don't know what you do. It's like, oh yeah, they dress up in robes, like I said, and they go in the basement and fling dice at each other and fight with swords. So now that it's so mainstream, and there are snippets of it here and there, and people see what the game is about and what can be created through playing the game, people just now their interest is piqued,
Yeah. And like, I feel like now with like Stranger Things, especially with Vecna appearing,
totally,
I am sure everyone's like, well, now I want to
So-
play.
Critical Role and Stranger Things, in my opinion, are the two number one driving forces of this in recent years. And I would probably say Stranger Things even more than Critical Role, because Critical Role is still somewhat niche. So yeah, I mean, the fact that the writers, they played when they were kids. The fact that they that they not only had scenes where the kids are playing D&D, but based the entire mythos on the creatures is fucking
Mind
fantastic.
flayers. And,
Yeah, so I would honestly say if there was one thing that really rocketed it, rocketed D&D into the mainstream, I think it was Stranger Things, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Do you think it was a ballsy move to do that? I would imagine, because I mean,
for the show? No, I don't think so. Because if it didn't, I mean, it would have just been part of the fiction of the story.
Yeah, and then it's like, now that I'm thinking, like, well, they got away with having Lord of the Rings and movies. Like,
Yeah.
What difference would it make if you have like a D&D themed show? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not that big of a stretch.
Exactly.
In fact, it's more reality based in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And like I said, if it didn't, if the D&D hook wasn't realized, it would still be a cool show. It wouldn't have affected the show.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was, and even though people, I mean, almost everybody's heard of Dungeons and Dragons, even if they have no idea what a role-playing game is, and even if they haven't heard the term role-playing game, chances are they've heard Dungeons and Dragons before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was great that they did that, and especially with the latest one with Vecna. I mean, good God, talk about going into the lore. That's fucking awesome.
And then the guy who played Freddy Krueger is
I know.
Vecna!
I know. Robert Englund.
So good.
I think they even just got his old makeup and mask out. They didn't really have to change anything. It doesn't look like.
And it's such a kicker because they even mentioned Freddy Krueger in the show.
I know. They did a really good job of dropping those little Easter eggs. I think it's awesome.
You guys are bad breaking the fourth wall like that.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I don't think DMs necessarily played as much of a role as educator as they do now because of that, because so many people are coming in, because you can play remote and because you can just go find a table. It is incumbent upon the DM to teach people like you how to play, and again, back when we were before all this, when we were kids or in earlier days, it wasn't the DM's job to do that. It was like you all figured it out as friends, and then somebody got stuck with running the game because everybody generally wanted to play. So it's interesting how the role of DM, I think, has changed over the years too, in becoming more of like a mentor and educational mouthpiece than just running the game as a storyteller.
Right. Yeah, and you guys have such great love for the game too, so it's like you want to share that experience with other people too. It's definitely become more user friendly nowadays. Like you mentioned, like it's basically you yourself. You're teaching yourself how to play D&D. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's so many resources now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Okay, so you got one of my. So anything else on learning? I'm not trying to cut us off, but I have some trivia questions here. I have some trivia questions here. They probably suck, but we were talking about doing a trivia segment, so this will be. So you already got the one. What was the concern coined by parents over the negative influence of D&D that was thought to have over kids in the 80s, referred to as the Satanic Panic? All right, here's one. I would open this up to the chat too, but I don't think anyone's in the chat, so just you and me.
20 years from now, they're going to be able to answer this.
You're going to win some RPG&Co stickers.
Yes.
What were the original classes in the original D&D box set? Do you know this?
No, but I'm gonna wing it.
There was only. I'll give you a hint. There was only 3 of them.
3.
Yeah.
Fighter Man.
Yes.
Wizard.
Magic user back then.
Yeah, and were there female players back then? Even if they were background characters. The archer.
Nope.
Ah,
Cleric.
Cleric.
Fighter Man, and Magic User were the original ones. And then
Yeah.
shortly after that, they released, I think in Greyhawk, but don't quote me on that. They released the Thief. The Rogue was used to be the Thief, and they released Paladin as a subclass of the Fighter Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
thought that was funny. I definitely heard about Fighter Man. I was like,
I know, Fighter Man. Fighter Man. Okay. Here's one you probably, well, see this, you're never going to get this. I'll save this one for when we have more people. And that's not a dig on you. You're not going to get it. Okay, here's one. What fictional mythos did the Deities and Demigods book borrow from without proper legal permission when it was released? Yeah, they did not have legal permission to use this fictional mythos in the Deities and Demigods book.
How long ago was this?
Deities and Demigods was AD&D, so probably like 83, 82.
They didn't have permission. I mean,
it's a pretty major fantasy, sci-fi, call it what you will, fictional mythos.
Because I'm thinking Tolkien, but I don't think
it's not Tolkien.
Would.
The other big one from around Tolkien's time.
The other, like Star Wars?
No.
Star Wars is
that was like 40 years later.
I know. We're time jumping. Around Tolkien's time, I don't even know.
It was H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos.
Really?
And I didn't know this, and I think I have the book. It's not up there, but I do have the book. It's in the other room.
What? That's so cool.
Yeah, the Cthulhu gods are in Deities and Demigods, and they did not actually have permission from the H.P. Lovecraft.
They didn't even ask?
Apparently not.
What?
So if I ever get caught by WotC for plagiarism or copyright infringement, I should say, I'm going to throw that back in their face.
Interesting.
All right. Okay, so D&D was originally created to add depth of mechanics to what tabletop miniature war game? Also created by Gary Gygax.
I should know this one because I did research on it.
This might be on your list for tonight for the game system, Chad. So they first created this game for miniature war games. Not Warhammer. No, that's a completely different. That's Citadel and Games Workshop. Citadel was miniatures. So they created this tabletop miniature war game, and they created D&D as a supplement to that to add depth of mechanics to the characters, and then realized that it stood on its own, and eventually it just completely overshadowed what they created.
Oh, I should know this.
It's a type of armor.
Armor? Warforged? No.
Chainmail. It was called chainmail.
Huh?
Yeah.
I never heard of that one.
Yep. Okay, and the last one, here's an easy one. Name 5 proper noun spells. For example, like spells that are named after their creator.
I still have some catching up to do.
I was really stretching to find freaking trivia questions.
Well, they all stumped me. Apparently, I was lucky with the first one. I don't even know names.
You want me to throw some out there?
Yes.
Melf's Minute Meteors.
Oh yeah.
Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound.
Ooh.
Snellock's Snowball Storm.
Snellock's
Snowball Storm. Jesus, I don't even know if I know 5 of them. Arms
the question was too good.
Arms of Hadar is a warlock spell, but I don't know if that is like that's
Bigby's hand.
Bigby's hand. Yep.
Yes.
Let's see, one more.
Isn't there like a fireball spell that's named after a wizard? What is it? It starts with an A? Agazar's Scorcher?
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's an arcane trickster spell.
Yeah.
I think it's Agazar's Scorcher?
Agador Spartacus.
Agador's. I know it's that.
Scorch. Aganazar's Scorcher. Very good. Nice. I did not even know that one. Once you said it, I remembered it, but that was awesome. Nice. So there you go. You win some RPG and Company stickers.
Yeah, I did it with flying colors.
And thanks for joining us, all of you in the chat on those trivia questions.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
Thank you for your input, guys. It really helps.
That's pretty much all I got for tonight, unless you got something else.
No, this was a fun kickback episode.
It was, yeah.
We had so much fun without Jason. Too bad.
I know. We may have to reassess our roster with HR. Just kidding, Jason. Come back. We miss you. Okay, so you want to do rollies to see who? I wish somebody was watching this. Okay, rollies to see who gets to close out the show. Okay, ready?
1, 2.
Oh, Jesus. Dropped it. What'd you get?
I got a 17.
Shit, 13. You win. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight on this episode of Lawfully Chaotic. Please be sure to check out our social media accounts over at Instagram, if I know how to point right, at BerryBot, at RPG&Co. And as always, if you stay, I knew I should have came out with like a slogan, but thanks for stopping by. Stay lawful.
Keep it real. Stay lawful and be. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Stay lawful. Wait. Stay lawful and
be chaotic.
Lawful mind, chaotic heart. I don't know.
Ooh, I do like that.
That's like a Hallmark card.
It's beautiful.
All right, we'll work on that. We'll work on. That's all off. That's off you. That's all right. All right. Cool.
All right, guys.
We'll see you next Thursday when we actually talk about gaming systems because Sharon did a shit ton of research.
Yeah.
So. All right. Awesome. Ciao.